The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, NXT Review.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wrestling to the Max's WWE NXT review for whatever date it was yesterday, October 4th, 2017. I am your host, Paul Leazar, joined this week by Harry Broadhurst, as Gary is still on a boat out somewhere in the Caribbean. So how you doing, Harry?
I'm telling you, we need to license Lonely Islands. I'm on a boat for these shows.
I'm not paying that.
All right, I'm not either, because that's probably expensive. Although his TV show did return, so dude's making bank. Hi, everybody.
That is very true. I doubt he's willing to cut us a deal. Anyways.
Unlikely.
Yeah, very unlikely. We got a really pretty stacked episode of NXT to get into here, and once again, we get to see Billie Kay and Peyton Royce team on to take on Ruby Riot, who is all by her lonesome once again. Until about maybe halfway through the match, you have Nikki Cross come out again, much to the fans' delight, to take up by Ruby Riot's side. And once again, playing a factor as they continue to win, Ruby puts Billie away with the Pele kick.
Yeah, interesting to see the little strange bedfellows team of Ruby and Nikki working so well together. Something tells me that both of those women are going to be participants in the four-way for the women's title at TakeOver Houston, so I don't think they're going to be getting along much longer.
I don't really want to talk too much about that because I do read spoilers, but
you're a terrible person, Paul.
You're not wrong, buddy. I really do enjoy this pairing, though. I think they're so very different, and you can totally tell that Nikki is just playing games with everybody, which is great. And I'm a huge fan of the iconic duo personally.
Likewise.
I really can't wait to see more from them up on the main roster, because I definitely think they're going to be up there sooner rather than later for sure.
I've long stated that I am a big fan of Billie Kay, the former Jessie McKay, courtesy of Shimmer and stuff. The more and more I see of Peyton Royce, the more and more she grows on me.
I agree with you very much.
Look that the WWE traditionally goes for, and the fact of the matter is that these two could realistically be a new Mean Girls kind of clique inside of the WWE's women's division. Mm-hmm. Much the same way, kind of how the BFFs used to run NXT as well.
I think we should tip our hats to Laycool as well, who personified the gimmick, at least for the WWE.
Layla.
Yeah, any chance really to make you swoon, Harry.
I miss... Michelle never did anything for me, but I miss Layla.
Yeah, Layla was... At one time, I would have argued she might have been one of the better people on the roster as far as going on in between the ropes.
She was always one of the best people on the roster as far as how she looked in the ring.
Oh, she is very pretty. That is true. Moving on, though, from Old Divas, Lars Sullivan and Oney Lorcan gets highlighted from last week as Lars just ran him right the heck over. Danny Burch came out and challenged him to a match, and Lars gets an interview backstage. And I found this very interesting, Harry, because when you usually have the big angry monster in a WWE, his promo ability isn't as eloquent, I would say. Lars very much, I think, tells a different story with his words than what happens in between the ropes, and I kind of like that. It's very, very interesting.
Is it just me, or did it kind of come off as a little bit Festus?
A little?
Like how Festus used to be completely calm and subtle until the bell rang, mm-hmm. and then once the bell rang, he turned into a monster. It almost seemed that same way without the stupid facial expressions.
Right, or, the country hick thing, too.
Well, yeah, the backwoods hillbilly thing, granted. But, I mean, as far as the what I mean with the comparison here is how dominant and how aggressive Lars Sullivan is inside of the ring. Mm-hmm. You see none of that in his interview. Yes. He's very calm. He's very well spoken. He's very well mannered, all things considered, in regards to the fact that he's having the interview with Christy St. Cloud.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he does talk a lot about control, how he's always in control of his temper, all these other things, which obviously we've seen maybe that's not always true. But I find this was just such a very stark contrast from what you see in the ring, and it really, WWE has so many monsters come through its door. It's kind of nice for them to, I guess, take a chance and try to do something a little bit different here, which I think is not missed on a lot of other people watching, hopefully.
Well, we'll see what ends up happening once they put him in the ring against non-brawlers, such as people that can actually more, like, Oney Lorcan's a very good wrestler, but he's more known as a brawler. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Danny Burch is more of the wrestler of the two, even though he's more of a brawler. But I'm curious to see what Lars Sullivan will do once he's put in there against the upper echelon of the NXT division, such as your Roderick Strongs, your Adam Coles, your Drew McIntyres, mm-hmm. the Cassius Ohnos, the people that are more known for their technical acumen rather than their brawling ability.
Right. And that will definitely be something to keep an eye on as we move forward with the Lars Sullivan story. But moving on from there, Zelina Vega gets interviewed outside talking about Johnny Gargano and Andrade Cien Almas's match that's going to take place next week on NXT. And she says that they will beat Gargano as many times as it takes to really rub it into the face of the NXT universe, so that way Almas can inch his way closer and closer to getting that NXT Championship shot. I thought this was very good. We haven't really got to see a lot of Zelina Vega or Thea Trinidad, if you're more familiar with that name for her, as far as what she talks about and how she really handles herself in these sort of situations. I like this. She's grown very, very much since the last time I've seen her.
Yeah, I think she's doing really well as the mouthpiece for Andrade Cien Almas, and I think with the Spanish to English translation issues there, I think that it's a wise idea to give Andrade somebody that can be used as a mouthpiece for him. I have no issues at all with Almas's in-ring work, but from a character perspective, he wasn't really connecting with the NXT fan base, myself included. Now that he has Zelina to do his talking for him, I feel like his act comes across much more cohesively.
And I always felt like Almas, or even when before he got here, he used to run with stables and stuff like that very often and CMLL, and I always thought he worked very well off playing off of people, even though I don't know Spanish. You could tell it worked better that way, and I think him and Zelina have a very nice chemistry. You don't get to see that here, but when you see him in the ring, around the ring together, or in those backstage promos they did in the build-up to them teaming up, I really enjoyed Almas having somebody to play off of, just because I think he's very good at facial expressions.
Not to mention, too, I think that a lot of people are much more familiar with Almas in a stable situation. My introduction to Almas as La Sombra was inside of Shakara at King of Trios.
Right.
So I feel like he doesn't really stand out as a singles in that I have seen thus far, but now that he has the opportunity to have a mouthpiece here, he's able to put across his own character much more naturally.
I agree with you entirely. We get to see some clips of Adam Cole's debut last week. And then
Whoa, sorry to cut you off here.
Okay.
Adam Cole, baby.
Well, if I'm going to do that the entire show, we might be here for a little bit.
Just the first one. Carry on.
In 2 weeks, we'll get to see the Undisputed Era team up to take on the trio Insanity, which should be a lot of fun. And then we get to... Go ahead.
Dislike. Don't like the fact that this is an NXT. This is an NXT TV match. I think that this, and yeah, I saw the spoiler about what's going to happen at TakeOver Houston, but I honestly feel like this 6-man tag match should have been saved for TakeOver Houston instead.
I guess we should actually go ahead and talk about that here. Triple H revealed on Twitter, and if you've read the spoilers for the tapings, that we're going to be getting a War Games match at NXT TakeOver Houston, which has now been redubbed NXT TakeOver War Games, where you'll have Sanity versus the Undisputed Era versus the Authors of Pain and Roderick Strong in a 3-on-3-on-3 War Games match. which has instantly set the internet ablaze as far as talking and excitement and a bunch of other things. And I was kind of hoping that they would, if they were going to do this, you maybe save it. But this very well could be the start of something much, much bigger. It definitely, it's probably an easy way to introduce Donovan Dijak to the fray if you want to do it this way. But I don't mind them doing it on NXT. You have to set it up somehow, and I think they've been doing a pretty good job of teasing that the Undisputed Era is here for reasons other than what a lot of other people come to NXT for, and that makes this very interesting to me, especially because you have Sanity as the foil, who is used to being what the Undisputed Era are, and that's coming in and sort of putting things sideways.
And the odd thing to me coming out of all this is the Sanity face turn. Like, these guys are super popular and super over with the NXT crowd now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, frankly, they work so well as a unit. And I mean all four of them when I say that in regards to Killian Dane, Alexander Wolf, Eric Young, and Nikki Cross.
Mm-hmm.
My question is with so many people involved in this War Games match, where does this leave Drew McIntyre for TakeOver War Games?
As far as me not wanting to give out spoilers, I don't really want to touch that. But I think there's, like, me and Gary talk about this a lot on here and how packed really the main event scene is in NXT when you look at all the top guys like Aleister Black, and we're about to talk about his match with Roderick Strong here. You could toss a lot of other people into that mix, though, now with Adam Cole being around, and Hideo, and Cassius Ohno, and a bunch of other people, I think, at the top of the card that you could feasibly still have Drew challenge.
I think we're going to get Aleister Black and Patrick Clark at TakeOver War Games, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. I have not looked at the spoilers, as you could probably guess, so I don't honestly know what's happening there. But if based on what I'm seeing on television, especially in what we saw on this particular week's episode of NXT Television with Aleister Black, which I think is up next, actually.
You're right.
Then that's where I feel like they could be going for TakeOver Houston / War Games with Aleister Black.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you, too, as we have the very, very nice surprise of Lio Rush coming out. He gets the nice big pop from the NXT Full Sail crowd here as he's coming out for a match with Aleister Black, which realistically could main event anywhere, at least on the independents, just because, that rep. But you have the Velveteen Dream come out and ruin it as he lays Lio Rush out, hits him with the Purple Rainmaker, and sort of dares Aleister Black to get in the ring. And as Black does his little, dive into the sitting position into the ring, Dream bails and's trying to get Black to acknowledge that he's there, and Aleister just keeps staring forward, basically into the hard camera, continuing to play off of his promo from last week where he refuses to acknowledge the lashings out of a child for attention. I actually really enjoyed this as much as I wanted to see Lio and Aleister hook it up. This, I think, really played well.
I think the problem with having Lio take on Aleister in his debut is the fact that they've already debuted two other current NXT superstars that same way, in Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with Velveteen coming out and laying out Lio Rush before the match here. I'm disappointed because the match would be phenomenal, but
right.
I'm okay with it, saving that for something down the road once Leo's a bigger deal in NXT. I mean, he is Danielle Feichel's favorite wrestler. and anyone who's cool with Topanga is cool with me.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
America.
Yes. After this, we get the debut of Kyrie Sane as far as NXT goes, as she takes on Aaliyah. And this was a short little 3-minute affair of Kyrie getting her stuff in and getting out, basically. And I think Aaliyah improves every time we see her on NXT TV, and I think you can see that again here.
I was going to disagree with you. I don't think that this match was all Kyrie. I think that Aaliyah more than held her own and showed herself as competent in the course of this match here, and I've been very impressed by everything I've seen from her. I mean, I have more of a bond towards Aaliyah because I was one of the people that watched every episode of Breaking Ground when it first aired.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more attached to Aaliyah than maybe the traditional NXT fan that's not watching didn't watch the Breaking Ground series. Mm-hmm. And seeing her development from when she was just starting with her character there to where she is now, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
She's a much better worker. She's much better at her timing inside of the ring. The only thing we don't know is how is her promo ability, because she hasn't had a chance to talk here. I think it was the right idea to give her this match with Kyrie, too, because Kyrie's of a similar size as Aaliyah as well, so Aaliyah's able to showcase some of her offense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Focus? Easy for me to say.
I knew where you were going. I mean, basically, Kyrie hits her big stuff, is what I was trying to get in. Like, she gets the spear, you get to see the chops, you have the corner stuff, the sliding forearm, and then the big elbow, and that's realistically all you need to see from Kyrie to know that she can murder you basically whenever she wants. But
sliding D.
Yeah. And Aaliyah, before all that, you're right, does get a lot of stuff in. It's just, it's very clean. It's a very nice little clean minute of work from her. And I think there's a lot of people out there, and I'm looking at Ketsa mostly because I know he's not a fan of Aaliyah at all, but
well, he's wrong.
He is wrong. I was about to say, she keeps getting better, and it's really nice to see that on NXT TV. I mean, that's basically half the reason why I watch this show, and for all the people that they keep signing.
I have a very bold statement to make here.
Shoot.
Somebody that's constantly focused on NXT TV. I think Aaliyah is better than Lacey Evans.
I would agree with you, and I think Aaliyah has been around the game a little bit longer than Lacey. I will say that Lacey has the better look. But Leah does have more talent in the ring as of this present moment.
I disagree that Lacey has the better look because Aaliyah looks like Jasmine, the Disney princess.
Whatever gets it done for you. Whatever gets it done.
I would say America here, but I'd feel that would be moderately racist, so I won't.
That is called whitewashing, Harry.
Yes, so instead I'll say Arabia, and we'll move on.
We'll move on to the main event. Drew McIntyre defends the NXT title against Roderick Strong. This gets the lion's share of the episode here, a little bit over 16 minutes, as Drew ends up getting the win with this absolutely brutal-looking future shock DDT that stuns Strong, and McIntyre puts him down with the Claymore to finally make sure he stays down. And I really, really enjoyed this. The work is great. I think, as you would expect, I was expecting more, but I think for a TV main event with the championship on the line, they really did give us a whole lot, and I appreciate that. But this was a lot of fun, tremendous back and forth. All the chemistry that they had from Evolve is definitely still there.
Yeah, I thought this was really well done as well, and I was super surprised when I saw that the introductions for this match were starting with the intros for everybody to come into the ring were starting with like 21 minutes left in the show, and I'm like, oh crap, this is going to get some time. Alrighty then, here we go. Mm-hmm. And I haven't seen their matches that they had in Evolve, but I know McIntyre / Galloway was killing it on the independent circuit before he re-signed with the WWE. And Roderick has always been very good, so I'm not surprised at all to see that they would put on such an excellent performance.
Yeah, I would recommend their Evolve matches to anybody. Some of them are a little worse than this. Some of them are much, much better than this. I think I gave 4 1/4 to one such occasion. But there's some good stuff to be had out there between these guys if you put your taste wet here and want more.
I'd put tonight somewhere around that 3.5, 4-star range.
I think 3.5 is pretty good. The crowd kind of lost interest, I think, before the stretch happened. So I don't know. It was... The work in here is the really important part. The crowd is sort of...
Yeah, that's kind of a recurring theme at Full Sail anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. They're more concerned in getting themselves over than focusing on the competitors.
I think at times, there are other times where it feels like they're definitely into... When they get attached to somebody, they definitely stay attached to that person. I don't know. They were with Roddy. Kind of aren't anymore. Alistair is one, though, you're right.
They're certainly with Alistair. I look forward to once they start to move Alistair up on the card as well.
Mm-hmm. I know Jose is another one I think Full Sail absolutely loves, too.
Well, a lot of that has to do with how much No Way Jose has improved, too, because from being underneath guy Louis Valenzuela to now being where he is with the No Way Jose gimmick, it's night and day.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's fair. One of those things that from the second he came through the curtain, they just immediately jumped on. You know, it's basically going to be one of those Full Sail Live guys that they just going to love every time you send them out through the curtain, which is great. After the match, they shake hands, as Drew and Roderick do, and then here comes the Undisputed Era to console Strong at the top of the stage, and sort of, they don't really ask him to join them, but they're kind of like, hey man, you remember us, right? And McIntyre's just up there like, dude, you're hanging out with these guys now, come on. Well, the show.
You'll notice that when they came down to the ring and they jumped McIntyre, Strong was nowhere to be seen either. So I think this is an excellent way to continue off of that. And the fact that while Roderick Strong isn't exactly announced as being associated with the Undisputed Era, it's clear to see that they have ties in history with each other. Yes.
I mean, obviously, for anybody who's watched Ring of Honor, you know where a lot of these guys are coming from. We're going to see more that have been signed from Ring of Honor, too. I mentioned Donovan Dijak already. Leo Rush has that history. There's Go ahead.
I really feel like they did Mike Kanellis, Mike Bennett a disservice by putting him immediately on SmackDown, especially with this going on in NXT, because I feel like he would be an excellent choice for this group as well.
Maybe. I think they're going for a different feel than what Mike would bring to the table, you know, because Adam has all that history with Kyle already, and then Kyle and Bobby have that background I think Triple H really loves to see in NXT, which is more that striking MMA stuff, and Adam Cole can sort of do that too, but they need a Mike guy, and Adam Cole is great at that, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, I get the Future Shock and the Red Dragon connection here for the Undisputed Era. I do, but at the same time, if you're going to do something in regards to... A lot of people are assuming that this is like a Ring of Honor-inspired one, and I feel like Bennett would have done excellent with these guys. I mean, I understand why they moved him to SmackDown. A lot of that having to do with wanting to have Maria back on television as well.
Yes.
So, I mean, I can't say I'm entirely unsurprised that they decided to move Mike and Maria to SmackDown, but I still think that I feel like, given the opportunity, Bennett could have shined in NXT as well.
I definitely would have said that he could have used the time, for sure.
He's doing more in NXT than he is on SmackDown right now, that's for damn sure.
You're sure right about that.
Nothing says relevant like a 55-second loss to Bobby Roode.
Yeah, well, you know, c'est la vie, I guess.
His wife's pregnant. He's happy.
Yeah, and, you know, recovering from drugs or, you know, painkillers and all that stuff, too. So, I don't know. We'll just have to see, I guess, what's in store for him, as well as what's happening on NXT, because that's going to do it for this episode. So, do you want to plug anything before we bail on out of here, Harry?
Are we going to do a rating?
We don't usually rate NXT, but we can if you want to.
7.5.
Okay.
Continued a couple of stories going forward without having to necessarily give away anything inside of the ring for them. I like the fact that Leo Rush didn't wrestle before he was attacked, because of the fact that you got to save Leo's... I think you save Leo's in-ring debut to mean something. Mm-hmm. You continue the story of Velveteen and Alistair. You continue the story of Nikki Cross and Ruby Riot, the iconic duo, as we get ready to focus more and more on the four-way qualifiers going into TakeOver Houston, TakeOver War Games, or whatever. And then you had an excellent main event, in my opinion, in the Drew McIntyre-Roderick Strong match. So I went about a 7.5.
I think a 7.5 about covers it, too, for all the reasons you mentioned. There's a lot of great storytelling on here. Everything on NXT these last month and a half, 2 months, has really, I think, been hyper-focused on storytelling, and that's really, I think, where NXT and one-hour shows do the best. Is it's so easy to just keep focusing on one thing to another that matters, and as well as getting some dynamite wrestling.
It's the most precise hour in the company, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely true.
And I think 205 Live has that same benefit, that they could focus on telling a couple of stories at a time as well, and that's what makes 205 Live, in my opinion, easier to sit through than Raw most weeks.
I would agree with you on that entirely. Yeah.
Speaking of 205 Live.
I was waiting for you to plug it.
Yeah, this feels like a good part for us. Segue right about now. So Sean stepped down from doing the weekly SmackDown and 205 Lives, but fear not, I have a new co-host, and for the first time in W2M history, co-hosting a wrestling show, it is a female co-host. My friend Liz Puglisi joins me for SmackDown and 205 Live every week here on the W2M Network. In addition, you can also find me on The Kickoff with Stephen and Brandon Biskabing, and Patrick Ketch and I do Wrestling Unwrapped, although this week it'll be WU Reacts to Hell in a Cell 2017.
It sure will, which me and Sean are going to preview on the upcoming W2M episode part 2 for this week. We're also going to be talking about some New Japan, and we'll be talking about Lucha, Impact, everything we usually do on a Thursday, plus some previews as well, and news, of course. And that's going to do it for us. I forgot to mention at the top, thank you to 411 Mania and Last Word on ProWrestling.com. Both those places put us up there, great supporters of ours. Wonderful websites as well if you're ever looking for the latest news or anything else related to wrestling, or 411 Mania, just a bunch of other stuff too. But we're also on WTMnet.com. That's our main home. That's where you can find all of our podcasts, all of our written stuff, football, wrestling, video games, entertainment, much, much more.
Soccer,
yeah. Lots of great stuff out there for you to go enjoy. Of course, you can always subscribe to us, iTunes, all the usual places. So I think that's going to do it for us here this week. Gary will be back around next week, so long as nothing terrible happens. So
or they don't need his cruise ship to rescue another Caribbean island.
Something like that, or maybe Gary gets lost at sea. That would really suck. I'm
just saying. I'm tossing it out there. If Gary gets lost at sea, you know a guy to help you with the reviews. I'm just saying.
It is true. It's very true. So that being said, we're out of here, folks. Have a good evening.
Bye, everyone.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.